If you haven't heard, Kendrick Lamar has been announced to be performing the Super Bowl halftime show in February. And some folks are excited about it, and some folks are pretty pissed off. Now, I'm going to be taking an amalgamation of all the stories from TMZ as this stuff has been rolling out. Kendrick Lamar will perform the halftime show at Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. The NFL and hip-hop superstar announced Sunday morning, one of the highest-profile gigs in the world. Kendrick, a 17-time Grammy winner, had arguably the song of the summer in Not Like Us, and with Drake, was part of the biggest rap beef in at least a decade. What's the deal, everybody? My name is Kendrick Lamar, and I'll be performing at Super Bowl 59, K-Dot said in an announcement video as he stood on a field in front of a giant American flag and fired footballs from a jugs machine. Will you be pulling up? I hope so. You know, there's only one opportunity to win a championship. No round twos. Let's get it. Speaking of Drizzy, the round two reference in the halftime announcement is likely a shot at the rapper, who had been teasing a second go-round with Lamar. As for the timing of the halftime show headliner, the NFL wasted no time this year. The league typically waits until a few games into the season, but this time around spilled the beans on Sunday after Week 1 kickoff. NFL is no stranger to locking down top talent for the Super Bowl halftime show. Last year, Usher had the honor of performing, while Rihanna held down Super Bowl 57, and 56 was Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, and 50 Cent, and it was epic. The show has also featured legends like Prince and Michael Jackson. Performers often bring out guests, and Kendrick has worked with everyone from Eminem to Travis Scott, so expect some friends. Now, not everyone is as excited about this year's Super Bowl because some people wanted hometown favorite Lil Wayne in New Orleans next year. While many people are excited Kendrick's getting his own show after appearing alongside other rap legends back at Super Bowl 56, others pointed out New Orleans has its own star rapper who should have got the top spot. DJ Academics, for example, pointed out that Kendrick's a great performer, but Super Bowl 61 is supposed to be in LA anyway, so the NFL could have waited 2 years to book him. Master P put out his own statement too, calling Kendrick as one of the best in the rap game, while also questioning why Lil Wayne wasn't picked to perform. Fans are parroting more of the same on X, giving Kendrick his flowers and agreeing the NFL fumbled this one. Worth noting, no one's saying Lil Wayne won't perform with Lamar. They made the song Mona Lisa on the Carter 5 together, which could be a fun way to incorporate Wayne. That said, most people think it should have been Wayne's show, with Kendrick possibly showing up to cameo. Nicki Minaj has joined the 20v1 against Jay-Z after he awarded the New Orleans show to Lamar instead of Wayne, and the Queen Barb was spewing all sorts of ether in his direction. According to Nicki's POV, Jay-Z sold out for the NFL when Colin Kaepernick kneeled on the field to protest police brutality, actions of a house N-word with an ER. I'm trying not to ruin my monetization, so I'm not just saying it out loud. And despite his riches and success, is still a hateful and ugly person. Today, Bootsy Badass also came to Wayne's defense, accusing Jay of reviving a vendetta against Drake at the twilight of his beef with Kendrick. Nicki has been an unflinching soldier since Wayne's Young Money jump, but she also has her own bone to pick with Jay, stemming from her beef with Roc Nation artist Megan Thee Stallion, a feud of women business that is still very much alive. She also invoked 50 Cent's claims that Eminem had to intervene on the Super Bowl 56 halftime stage after Jay was playing hardball and called for New Orleans residents to do the right thing like a Spike Lee joint. For his part, Jay backed the Kendrick halftime pick by calling him a once-in-a-generation artist and performer. Birdman has also entered the Super Bowl 59 chat, and he has some tough talk about the Roc Nation boss. After Nicki took swipes, Birdman backed her up and promised revenge. These N-word, P-word, Nicki Minaj, Drake, Tunchi, YMCMB. I'll make these N-words respect us on Gladys, a deceased to his dead mother. Charlamagne the God thinks people need to lay off of Jay-Z and Roc Nation for selecting Kendrick Lamar over Lil Wayne and started congratulating them for keeping Taylor Swift off the stage. On Monday's Breakfast Club segment, Charlamagne said Taylor's omission was cause to celebrate good times. Come on. Taylor's record sales have been shattering the atmosphere the last few years, but Charlamagne applauded Roc Nation's clear push of hip-hop and R&B acts as of late, and the performers just happen to be black. Breakfast Club guest host Lauren LaRosa pushed back with an outrageous take right for the Swift Tea podcast that Taylor was the best thing to happen to the NFL since the kicking tea. But Charlamagne the God would hear none of it. The Weeknd, Usher, Rihanna, and even Kendrick, along with several other West Coast legends, have all been a part of the gigantic events, and we can imagine it's only a matter of time before Taylor dominates a halftime set of her own. And finally, radio host Big Boy is baffled that Kendrick Lamar was chosen, saying there's been an obvious decision here that was not made. On TMZ Live Monday, Big Boy shared his unfiltered opinion on Kendrick scoring the coveted halftime spot. According to Big Boy, ahead of Sunday's announcement, he would have bet big money that Lil Wayne was going to be tapped for the huge honor since NOLA is his hometown and all. He added, "You don't have to dig Wayne up. You don't have to say, hey, remember Lil Wayne? Like, we need to get someone from New Orleans. He's that guy. Cash Money was that group." Big Boy noted that the selection speaks volumes about the rapper's epic year with his hit Not Like Us. Big Boy admits Kendrick has plenty of hits to warrant the halftime pick, noting there's no escaping Not Like Us with a single surfacing at the DNC and various NFL games, among other high-profile events. Okay, let's talk about it because, my God, that's a lot to speak on, man. First of all, Kendrick has had one of the biggest years for a rapper in a long time. That beef was absolutely everywhere. It fully dominated the news cycle. It has been number one on the charts and everything like that. We're just at a spot where, like, Kendrick is the guy right now. So that part makes sense there. I agree with a lot of folks that if we were really going after the hometown thing, then it would have made more sense to pull Lil Wayne. I know the argument of, like, it's in New Orleans, why isn't Wayne doing it, is a little silly of an argument to me because there hasn't really been the first time that connection happened was Dre at 56 at Super Bowl 56. That's really the only time that's been a thing. Rihanna's not from Arizona; she's from Barbados. Usher's not from Vegas; he's from Atlanta. Now, and had an Atlanta homage. Now, mind you, he had the biggest residency in Las Vegas for the last couple of years. So I understand that that's another reason to tap him there since he's already there, an homage to his show, all that kind of stuff. But this has never been a thing about doing it in your hometown. The reason why I guess LA was such a big deal for that was because, if I'm not mistaken, if it wasn't the first time it had been in LA, no, it wouldn't, because it's been to the Rose Bowl a number of times. It was the first time at SoFi, which was in Inglewood specifically. So, like, you're not obviously talking Compton or LBC where, you know, Snoop and Dre are famously from, but you are talking about, like, the kind of collective black hoods of Los Angeles as far as, like, tipping your hat to that. And it's the first time in that, like, kind of major sense, because the Rose Bowl is Pasadena, which is part of the LA area, but that's like the suburbs. That's not, it plays differently. It plays very, very differently. So I understand the connection there. Now, I'm not saying you don't take away the New Orleans element from it whatsoever. Lil Wayne is literally a legend. He's an icon. On top of his catalog and the things he's done, his mixtape Wheezy and all of the number one hits he's had, all of the songs he's been featured on, he also brought up two of the biggest rap stars in the game in Drake and Nicki Minaj after him as well. So everything from him with the Hot Boys and, Back That Ass Up with Juvie and all of that, all the way up to what he's done up to this point. Probably the most influential person in hip-hop, if you want to make that argument. Now, at the same time, part of the other thing that I think people aren't necessarily keeping in mind, there's two major elements that kind of stuck out to me about potentially choosing Lil Wayne. He did mention in a podcast that this is something that he really would love to do and he would want to do, and especially for New Orleans. And I think that's the other sad part about it that I don't love, that he's not getting that opportunity. If you haven't seen it, I didn't pull it because I didn't really have time to. Go watch Lil Wayne at Essence Fest this year. Go watch Lil Wayne from performances like that in recent memory, and they haven't been up to what his standard has been throughout his career. Now, I'm not saying that if, you told him this far in advance, bro, you're playing the Super Bowl, that he wouldn't potentially get it together or anything else like that, but I definitely could see some of the decision-making being like, hey, yo, I saw what just happened a couple months ago. I don't know about all this, because again, this is like a business situation. Someone brought up a good point. There was a news article that came out earlier this year that there was a point at which Lil Wayne owed like $14 million in back taxes, and Jay-Z actually was the one that fronted Wayne the money to handle that. It wasn't Birdman, it wasn't Drake, it wasn't Nicki, it was Jay. So Jay clearly doesn't have beef with Wayne. you might have some beef with like Nicki and Birdman and Drake, and maybe that's part of what's dragging into this. But unless you can really kind of connect the dots to that, man, you're jumping a lot of steps and ignoring things on its face, including, it's very funny to me for Nicki to bring up you out here being a house slave and all this stuff, for the NFL, when in the same breath, we've actually seen Wayne a couple times now bring up stuff about, like, when people were saying Black Lives Matter, he's like, I mean, my life matters. I don't see that racism. Like, again, look up the clip. He did a whole interview about it. He's like, my life was totally fine. If racism was really that big of a problem, how would I be this successful? Like, these are some of the things that he was saying in that regard. On top of the fact that there was a point at which he met with Trump about this whole platinum plan, which didn't actually go forth with anything. So, like, there's a lot of stuff that, if this is supposed to be kind of a pro-black situation, I'm not saying that Wayne hasn't been, but there have also been some questionable things that he has said recently in, like, interviews within the last few years that is kind of like, I could also see maybe that too, maybe a pivot because of some of those things. It's really complicated and convoluted, and I'll say this, man. I think the most important thing is that, as being said, Kendrick is incredibly talented. He's one of the most decorated artists of all time. It makes sense after this big moment that he's just had this year why he would get that nod. It is sad not to see Wayne do it, especially because then you could have Wayne bring up No Limit, bring up Cash Money, bring up all of those New Orleans rappers, those Louisiana rappers, and just musicians in general, even probably get a second line going in there to do all this. But what's to say that Kendrick, if you look at what Not Like Us was about, and the idea of actual, like, black artists doing the thing and coming together and everything like that, what's to say that he won't do something like he did with the Pop Out, where he is bringing Wayne and Cash Money, and he's like, hey, y'all, I'm Kendrick Lamar. Here's a song or two. It's like, but I need y'all to recognize something. In the same way that I talked about it and I showed you in LA, let me show you what hip-hop has become because of these greats. And then you do bring out Cash Money, and you do bring out No Limit. Now, they may not want to do it. That may have always potentially been on the docket to do, or something that was percolating in his mind. They may not want to do it now after all of this arguing and back and forth. I ultimately hope that is what ends up happening. I'm not necessarily trying to see Kendrick bring a bunch of people not from New Orleans, to be honest with you. I don't have a problem with it. I also don't think, just by the nature of, like, someone brought up, he did a song with Taylor, so that maybe she'll pop up for Bad Blood. I think that would be stupid, in the sense of, again, you're A, trying to make stuff like so pro-black, B, she will play the Super Bowl herself. Once Jay-Z's contract is up, I believe this is his last year, I think it was a 5-year stint, then I'm sure that she'll get her own halftime show. She's in the middle of eras anyway. I'm sure she's tired and doesn't even necessarily want to do that right now. She'd probably wait to do that once that's all said and done. But we'll see. All that being said, man, I want to know what y'all think in the comments. Do you like Kendrick as a choice? Would you have preferred Wayne? Do you think people are overblowing this? I personally kind of think it's a little overblown, especially because there are more important things that are actually a little more detrimental that have been going on to, like, black folks, black celebrities, but black folks in general in the last day or so, that I wish more attention was paid to versus just this. But let me know what you think down in the comments.